And women do the same. They drink or they smoke to soften, to surrender, to escape the masculine rigidity they've been forced to inhabit just to survive. Substances become their access pass to feminine flow until they stop working, and then they're left without a map. Boom, 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 boom. Have you ever reached for alcohol to feel bold and sexy? Or have you ever smoked a joint just to relax into softness? Finally, what if I told you you weren't craving booze at all? You weren't craving weed at all. You were craving polarity, masculine and feminine energy, the very thing we lose when we abandon self. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 1000 Days Sober podcast. My name is Lee Davy. I am not an alcoholic. I refuse to be anonymous. I am someone who lives a self-led life, alcohol-free as fuck, and I spend every waking moment of that life, like right now, helping other people do the same. A couple of days ago, I got a WhatsApp message from one of my strivers, and it went a little something like this. When a woman is in her masculine, what should the man do?
Yo, Lee, question for you. When a female is in her masculine, what should the male do? Should he get in the feminine and just kind of let it, or should he try to kind of get her back in the feminine by being even more masculine? What are your thoughts? I was just kind of thinking about that dynamic. It's interesting to see how it is, how we should play that, in your opinion.
And it is a brilliant question. And the answer lies in something most of us were never taught when we were younger: polarity. It's this invisible dance of masculine and feminine energies. Polarity is what creates attraction, tension, eroticism, purpose. It's the electricity in your body, the fire in your relationships, the glue that makes sex, partnerships, and presence feel alive. And yet, when we live from our parts, controlling, protecting, avoiding, what we do is we collapse polarity. We scramble the signal. And alcohol, well, it becomes the shortcut. Let me give you two made up examples, right? Many men use alcohol or weed or other substances to feel, to drop the armor, to access emotions, or become more sexually expressive. But what they're really doing is trying to connect with their feminine energy, their openness, their vulnerability, their sensuality. But they've buried it so deep due to cultural conditioning and internalized shame that they don't know how to reach it. They don't know how to access self. So they outsource it to a substance, any substance. In our case, mainly alcohol, right? And women do the same. They drink or they smoke to soften, to surrender, to escape the masculine rigidity they've been forced to inhabit just to survive. Substances become their access pass to feminine flow until they stop working, and then they're left without a map. In both cases, alcohol and weed are being used to simulate the feminine, but it's not integration, it's a bypass. The part doesn't know how to access energy from self. And then we wonder why our relationships feel so flat, why sex has literally dried up, why intimacy turns into a negotiation instead of a sacred fire. I see it in myself. I see it in myself all the time. When I disappear into unhealthy masculine energy, when I become detached, rigid, or emotionally unavailable, Liza gets activated. She gets triggered. She feels unsafe, and she steps into that masculine void, which I have let go. She takes over. And now we're both trying to drive the same car in opposite directions. Polarity is gone. Intimacy disappears. We're just two parts tied up in a power struggle. Here's a real life example, or a trap that I've just avoided putting my foot in, right? Zia is off school at the end of May for half term, and I am going to be working away in Montenegro until then, right? And we weren't able to go away as a family the last time Zia was off because I was working away. So Liza's brought up the idea of us going away as a family when I come back. Now, in the past, I would leave the organizing to her, the hotels, the logistics, everything, right? Probably to some of you listening to this, you might be thinking, what's a big deal, right? Sounds harmless, but it isn't. Because when I don't lead, when I don't organize, when I don't schedule, Liza will step into her masculine to fill the vacuum if she feels unsafe, if she feels that something's not going to happen. And that flips her polarity, right? She's not in a feminine anymore. She's in her masculine because she's organizing a trip. But her masculine triggers my nervous system. It triggers me, and my protector parts show up. And now suddenly we're in a standoff instead of a partnership, because my parts are saying, hey, what are you doing over this side of the fence? I'm the masculine energy in this relationship. So when I was preparing for this episode, I had a realization, just one small switch with a massive impact. I can organize a trip. I can take the lead and tell Liza, relax, I've got this. Okay. I stay in my healthy masculine, and this invites her to relax and fall back into a feminine. And just like that, polarity is restored. You don't need a psychology degree to understand all this stuff, right? You just need to ask yourself, am I living from self, or as a part hijacked my energy? So we're about to take a short break. But before I do, ask yourself this question, or these questions. What did alcohol or weed give you permission to feel? Was it confidence, receptivity, power, surrender? During the break, reflect on that, because it holds the key to restoring polarity from within. Welcome back to the 1000 Days Sober podcast, where today we're diving deep into the real reason many of us drink, and that is not understanding our masculine or feminine energy. Well, until now, right? So how do you reclaim polarity? Well, first, ditch the idea that masculine and feminine are about gender. They're not. They're about energies here in this podcast, right? The masculine is stillness, direction, clarity. The feminine, flow, emotion, creation. Think of the masculine as a container, as the riverbank, and think of the feminine as the water, as the river water flowing through that riverbank. And we have both energies, the masculine and the feminine. But in intimate relationships, attraction thrives when one person holds the masculine pole and the other the feminine. And that doesn't mean it's fixed. Sometimes you switch roles, but without polarity, you will lose the charge, right? So you might be asking yourself, well, which pole do I hold? Well, often it mirrors your natural sexual preference. So in my case, I'm more masculine in the bedroom. So I prefer to lead. Liza's more feminine. She prefers to receive and surrender. Some of you might call that just being lazy. I like to call it feminine energy. Well, that dynamic shows up in how we live, love, and relate. It's not a rule, it's more of a compass. And here's the key. You don't need alcohol or weed to access either energy. Want to step into your healthy masculine? Structure your mornings, train your body, speak with clarity, lead with love. Discipline isn't punishment, it's presence. And presence is all masculine, baby. You want to embody your healthy feminine? Dance, create, cry, laugh, receive. Let yourself be seen. Let the mask fall. How does this all work out in a relationship? Let me tell you a story. I had two friends. Let's call them Bob and Elise, right? Usually in the relationship, Bob is a masculine and Elise holds the feminine. But sometimes when I'm around their house and I can see she's a little bit annoyed, she falls into her masculine and she becomes directing and controlling and driving. And I've seen Bob meet her there, masculine versus masculine, a battle of wills, fire and friction. But something I saw the other day made me think of this and it made me smile, right? She was in the kitchen, she's shouting out instructions at him, and she comes out, she's having a go at him. She's 100% in her masculine, right? But all of a sudden, he softened. He walked over to her in a very playful way, right? And he just swooned her over like they do in a dance in a Hollywood movie. And he just looked at her, and in the cheekiest voice I could imagine, he said, "Darling, just shut the fuck up and give me a kiss." And in that moment, she just melted. She just giggled and said, "Oh, Bob, oh, you're so funny." Now, that's not manipulation, right? That is what I call polarity play. That is him getting into self. And that is power, right? Now, we didn't always have this skill. It's a practice. But when just one person chooses to lead from self and not parts, everything changes. Polarity dies when both people protect. Polarity is reborn when someone chooses to trust and be vulnerable. In this case, Bob was being vulnerable, right? She could have rejected him. It's not a performance, it is a practice. And when you practice polarity consciously, you're alcohol free as fuck. Life becomes alive. Your relationships become sacred. Your confidence becomes embodied. And this is how we strive. The daily vow. Today, I will not drink. Instead, I will reclaim the energy I once chased in a bottle. I will choose presence over power, surrender over suppression, and polarity over parts. Alcohol never gave you confidence. Weed never gave you softness. That was all you, baby. That was always you. And when you live alcohol free as fuck from self, you don't just survive without substances, you become electric. A few reflections for you today. What energy, masculine or feminine, were you using substances to access? What are the natural polarities in your closest relationships? Who leads and who receives? When that polarity breaks down, what's the sequence? What's the trigger? Who flips first? What is the impact? And what's one way you can embody a healthy masculine or feminine energy today from self, not from your parts? Pause, reflect, share your answers with the Strive community or on socials. You can find me on @LeeDavyCoaching or you can hashtag #Strive. Okay, let's talk about this. That's all I have time for you today, ladies and gentlemen. If you would like a little workbook that tells you a little bit more about masculine and feminine energies, then email me at thestrivemethod@gmail.com and I will send you a copy. Please, as always, rate and review this podcast to help more strivers find it and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. We're here every single day, all right, to provide you this lovely service. Until tomorrow, remember, you are brave, you are bold, you have balls, and you do not need to drink alcohol today. All right, you've got this. I've got you. Okay. Until tomorrow, much love and strive on.